This is the general etiquette section. This is a bunch of broad strokes around table manners. They don't really fit particularly in one spot, as they usually apply to all of it. Now, good posture is important. If you're slouching and you're kind of slouching like this and doing all these things around the table, it's going to look lazy. Posture is a very, very key element to class at a table. It is one of the biggest indicators, in my opinion, that somebody doesn't understand what they're doing at a table. That posture in life is about how you hold yourself. And if you hold yourself up with respect for the place and the respect for your body and your mind, which is being held at the top of your body, the crown, this posture will signify a status. If you were to think of a low status person, you may not think of them slouching, but if you think of a high status person, they're obviously going to be very high and hold themselves up almost to a snotty degree. And you may dislike that. However, if you start to feel like that and you like how it feels and you find that other people in the company that you keep also hold themselves in a high regard, you'll realize why it feels so good, that they hold themselves with such care, and posture being such a significant sense of etiquette. Now, one of the things that I've seen all the time, and this may be a little more dated, but not waiting to sit. So if you arrive to a party and there's a dining room and there are people gathering around the table, you don't want to sit before the host sits at the table. Just because the seating is there and it's open, you just don't do that. This is a key thing that I see people will do. They treat it as a laxed thing. I think it shows a misunderstanding of the rules of etiquette. When you do get served or anything around the dining, you always want to say thank you. It's a small thing. You have to think about the class of the opposite. That's a person who never says thank you, that isn't appreciative, is not grateful. And if you were the host, you would want people to be grateful and gracious to your efforts and finances that go into a party, a dining. If you are on a date, for example, and that person didn't say thank you and you paid, it's a very similar thing. You want to say thank you to everything that you possibly can. Observe the host's demeanor. They are setting the boundaries, the foundations to the engagement here. If they are extremely proper and they are respecting it highly, then follow suit. If they are casual and they're in sweatpants and they just bring out a pizza box, well, you can follow that lead. However, it's not up to you to decide how things should go. You are there as a guest, not as the host. Now, if somebody else is eating or being served something that you don't agree with, that you dislike, you never want to say anything that is condescending or disagreeable to their choices. A food choice is personal, and you want to respect others. You don't know if they have dietary restrictions or have some intestinal issues or just general taste for something that you dislike. People are different, and you must respect that. When I was a kid, my mom always had these little things that we had to say around dining. And one of them was, "Would you excuse me from the table, please?" And this is a line that I've been taught since I was a kid because it's so popular in a higher end household that you excuse yourself using very polite means, even with the family. And when you do excuse, you don't say exactly why. You don't say, "I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to go pee. I need to wash my hands," or something. You just say, "Would you excuse me from the table, please?" And you get up, or any form of that phrase. I will always go to it because that's how I've been taught. Avoid speaking over other people. When people are talking, wait your turn to speak. Think about the idea of being as polite as possible. Now, the party or gathering around a table isn't a party as like let loose, everything go. It is an event. It is something put on and had a lot of effort put into it. So you want to also treat it with care and love instead of blabbering about over people. Yes, you can find ways to interrupt and so on if somebody keeps talking. However, the idea of just letting somebody speak and then waiting your turn is promoted here. No touching. If you've ever seen anybody in a rude movie or in real life reach across the table and grab a fry from your dish, a lot of people dislike that. Actually, most people dislike it. And it also comes off as rude, brash, and trashy. You don't want to touch somebody else's plate, and you also don't want to touch people. touching people and so on like this. And you want to avoid smashing elbows with others or grabbing them. Now, if it was a little bit more personal of a person, say it was like a family member, you can, a tap on the back or shoulder. That's reasonable, of course. But at the table, and these table manners, the idea of keeping to yourself and respecting others' boundaries is an important part. Again, think about the opposite. Somebody eating really fast and rushing all their food. It's not going to look good. You want to eat your food. What is it? You chew 32 times per bite, which is ridiculous. You don't have to do that. Just eat slowly with a reasonable amount. Just don't rush it is the idea. Calmly understand that you're not a ravenous beast who hasn't eaten for days and you need to eat. You're not an animal, you're a prestigious individual, and you want to show this through the speed that you go through the meal. Washing your hands is an integral part of dining. You want to do it as the chef, you want to do it as the consumer. You also want to do this before you sit down at the table. Also consider the fact that your hands are on the table quite often and they are on display, and having dirty nails and so on is not a good look for you. Imagine somebody who is on the opposite side of the table of you, who is interviewing you for a job and you're out for a dinner business meeting type thing, and you have crud under your nails and like a spot that you could have just wiped off with soap and water. They're going to see that. They're going to do it, and they'll feel it if they don't. It's a way to make sure that you're presented in the best way without distractions, as well as just hygiene, of course, if you did have to touch or handle anything with your hands. One thing I see a lot, and as time goes on, I do notice that many classy people have a way of talking about controversial topics that are so smooth, and the way that they do that has largely based on their personality. Some people can get away with saying more things. When you have so much class and you level up everything else, which is your, say, clean hands, your manners, your understanding of the world of class and etiquette, you can get away with saying a little bit more, and it actually works pretty well because it lets people feel a little more comfortable and more human and have a better time. So we do want to try to push this, but we don't want to be trashy and say things that are just out of left field, demeaning towards anybody that might be on the table. But you can say things that could be arguable as long as you respect that they have a different concept around it. And of course, put away your phone and make sure at least it's on silent if it's near you. This is such a key thing that I see people do at restaurants all the time. They come in, take it out of their pocket and put it on the table. Do not do that. Keep it in the bag, keep it in the car, keep it in your pocket with a ringer off. End all, be all, no questions asked. Don't check your phone. The only exception that you want to check your phone is when you excuse yourself from the table and go to the restroom to check it if you're looking and waiting for a particular call. If you're waiting for a call, alert the other party members that, hey, for a moment, I'll have to keep my phone on me and then take off as soon as I have this call. It's extremely important to this situation, so on. But you want to be courteous enough to let them know ahead of time why you might be having a call and they can expect it. That's the only way around it that I have found that truly works. Unless you excuse yourself, you want to stay seated till the end of the meal, till everybody else is done. You don't just get up and then go to the TV room if you're at home, or just get up and walk around and explore if the other people at the table haven't completed dining. This is very rude, and it shows a lack of interest around the people at the party. It's self-centered. It's just not classy. Stay seated until everybody is done. A thing that you will see children do quite often is lean back in their chair. But all four legs down is a rule that you should know and you should abide by. You don't want to lean. Also, it can break the chair, and then wouldn't that be embarrassing if you broke your chair and came tumbling down at a fancy dinner? You probably will have a jacket at some point with a colder climate, and you will want to hang that on the back of the jacket. There's two concepts here. We'll go over both of them. If you can't hang it at the door of the coat check. I've mentioned it before, always keep a couple bucks in your coat for coat check. There's two ways I think of hanging a jacket on the chair, which is like the chair back is shoulders and keeping it formed and so on. Make sure that that jacket is on the outside. If it's a more puffy jacket, my Canada Goose or a crew neck leather jacket, you can do that, I suppose, inside out as to not accidentally get any food onto the jacket's shell. So if it falls onto it, it would fall on the interior. However, I would not do that with a sports coat or a suit jacket. That one should be on the outside of the chair, like their shoulders on the chair. Make sure you don't just leave. You should be always saying goodbye to everybody and thanking them and hoping that you'll see them again and that you had a great time with them. Just general positive vibes and just be a nice, kind, thoughtful person. How you handle yourself and how you dress should be showing respect for the party and for the people around. The way that dress often is it's a signal, it's a symbol. So if you don't think about it as fashion and you think of it as a symbolism, these are going to indicate a language that you're going to portray. So if you're wanted to portray a warrior fierceness about you, war paint, grit, animal hide, fur, these things symbolize and signify power and war and grit. So on the other hand, if you want to signify class and social power and status, understanding rules, understanding how things go, tradition, timeless history of etiquette, things like this, like tucking in your shirt, having nice slacks versus jeans, general demeanor, behavior, all of the etiquettes that I'll be covering in this course, those symbolize status and they symbolize respect. The higher the status, the more it is about the other people. The best way to get status in any environment is to give more, make it less about you, and do things for others. Not as in I'm second place, but being first place so that you can give more because you're at the top. And that's how you want your dress and decorum to come across. With that being said, you're always better off dressing up more than dressing down. If you say were to go meet some friends in the city for a dinner, you're not sure of the dress code, so on, just dress up nicer. It could be casual, but so what? And what's wrong with dressing up nice? It can be fun. So if you're dressed up nice, great, you win. And if anybody asks why you dressed up, oh, well, I thought the dress code was a little nicer. Great, you still look great. So always dress up, never dress down. When you do excuse yourself from the table, always push the chair in. Simple rule, easy to remember. However, I see it not completed by a lot of people. So make sure that you can do that and tidy up your area as well. If you can, help clean up the table, make sure there's no crumbs on the tablecloth, so on like that. Any kind of help, if you do or change the guest, make sure you alert the host or the party presenter that you are going to do so. In the 48 hours after dining, make sure you do send a thank you to the host or the person who threw it on or invited you. Don't wait too long, just make sure you do it within a couple days. Whenever you can, make sure you can bring a gift. This is a huge thing for most gatherings. My family events, we always try to give a gift with my girlfriend and I. We make something, could be brownies, fruit salad, whatever, and it's highly appreciated as well as eaten. Unless you're at a nightclub kind of being an asshole thinking you're Iron Man, which is totally fine sometimes, I suppose, you want to remove your sunglasses indoors. There's exceptions if you're on a patio, like a awning covered thing, where your view may be too bright and it can hurt your eyes. However, if you're indoors, anything surrounded by glass, generally speaking, walls and glass, you don't need your sunglasses on.